Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, picture this: you have a fight with your partner or with somebody who's important to you in some way. And then you do all the things that you're supposed to do when that happens. You take some space to reset and to breathe. You get your heart rate back down. If you're super advanced, and assuming this applies, you might even take a moment to remember you actually love this person. And when you're ready, you go back to the table, feeling steadier, able to speak with some kindness, fully expecting to have this conversation like a grown up. But then they sigh or they roll their eyes or they say one wrong word and you completely lose your mind. Does that sound familiar? Today,
Yep.
we're talking about self regulation and real readiness for hard conversations.
Yeah, so I wanted to just burst out laughing hearing that because I've had that happen to me so many times, and it's not a sign that something's wrong with us or we're messed up or we're screwed forever. It's just such a human thing, you know. And when you say, we've taken the time to do all the things, what it tells me is we're well intentioned. We actually took time, made effort to know, hey, I want to do this a bit differently than before. And I genuinely thought I was ready because I felt a little bit steadier. I felt a little bit more settled. I didn't feel like I was going to rage at anyone anymore. So we think that means we're ready, and it doesn't. Or it doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean we're ready. There's more components to being ready than just I feel a little bit more settled.
For sure. Yeah. Um, do you have I've got many personal examples of this, but I think I love it when we start with a copying to this behavior ourselves kind of vibe. Yeah. So, yeah, does this bring to mind anything from your lovely history of relationships?
History and also not so recent history.
Mhm.
So for me, I mean, it's been a road, right? And I've had a pathway where there were times where I didn't even like realize, I didn't even know what being ready meant, being regulated meant. I
Mhm.
thought that it would be a good time to talk through things again with a partner when we've gone to bed and they're peacefully falling asleep and I'm tossing and turning in the bed like huffing and puffing. I'm like,
Right.
surely this is a sign that we should talk about this thing right now. And
Yeah.
surely it's not. Let me tell you that. So that's an example of absolutely not being ready, and I had, like, no clue that that's a sign that this means you're not ready to have a conversation. Just because you're
Yeah.
fired up and ready to talk does not mean you're
Yeah.
ready. That's one, because often that would be at, like, 3 AM. We've already spent
Right.
super late talking about it, and then I think they assume, "Okay, we're done for the night. Maybe
Yeah.
we need to pick this up in the morning, but surely we're done." And I give the signs that we're sorta done because I, brush my teeth, get ready for bed, come into bed, and then I'm just tossing, thumping, slamming the pillow up and down, you know? And
Yeah.
eventually they're like, "Are you okay?" And I think that's my invitation
Ah, for a
to
big,
be like,
long 3 AM conversation.
"Yes,
Yeah.
yes." So that's where it sorta started. Do you wanna hear more about that, or do you wanna hear about more, like, times when I genuinely thought I was ready?
Well, I think I wanna juxtapose. So the situation you've just described, like, I would never be in that situation because I would not have entered the bed. Like, I could never get as deep and pure connected as you describe or what I take from what you describe. Like, for
Mhm.
me, if we had to go to bed that way, we would have just broken up maybe, or, like, I don't even know what it is. The time that really strikes me that I remember, I mean, I remember several times, but this was maybe the first when I consciously actually tried to do this. A couples therapist had said, "When you're fighting," and maybe this is kinda what you were getting at, take separate spaces, go to separate spaces. And at the
Yeah.
time we lived in a bachelor's apartment. So I was like, what does that mean? Okay, I'm going to go sit in my car. And so it was a big deal, I guess, to pause and take space and separate. But of course, I didn't know what to do with that. So when we're in the fight, the fiery feeling is so intense that the minute that's gone, I'm like, okay, now we're ready. right? So
Yeah.
I was actually just sitting in the car stewing about all the reasons that I was right and they were wrong, and ways I'm going to phrase this to really get into their brain, kind of thing,
Yeah.
which of course is not being ready.
I think you just said something that if everyone took this nugget away, a lot would start changing, which is that moment when you start to feel not as on fire does not mean you're ready to have a constructive conversation. That means something's beginning to shift, right? I'm not as activated, but it does not mean I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
And we all think, "Hey, as long as I don't wanna rip their head off, I want to have, something feel better here, it means we're ready."
Right.
Yeah, no, it doesn't mean that.
So we like to recap this. This was a really illuminating sentence for me when I first heard it. If one eye roll could set you back off, you're not ready. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm pretty sure an eye roll would set me off in all circumstances all the time. Oh, my dear.
Oh, my dear, probably means you have a baseline of being quite activated,
Yeah.
right? And that's fine. There's ways to move that energy so that you can be with someone's eye roll because 'cause we're human. We're gonna eye roll sometimes. Sometimes we eye roll on purpose to piss the other person off, and sometimes, like, it wasn't on purpose or you're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe my face actually did that." Like,
Right.
we in order to build healthy relationships, we have to be able to be with somebody else's authentic expression in the moment, even if it's not ideal, and we gotta catch, what are we making all of those things mean?
Hmm.
So for me, I've only had one partner in my life who would eye roll, but more often in my partnerships, what I would have is silence. So I would think we're ready to talk. I'm ready to talk. And that's another thing. We just think if I think I'm ready to talk, we must be ready to talk. So we should talk, which is just another issue altogether. That just because you might be ready does not mean the other person and their nervous system is ready. So, one of my partners, or actually many of my ex partners, would, I think, just have a moment where they wouldn't know what to say. Some people would call that freeze, or they would need time to think. And if I would say something to my partner and they wouldn't have an immediate response, that would set me off into, are you not hearing me? Do I not matter to you? Like, are you dumb, stupid, whatever? Like, should we even be together? Like, come on, don't you have something to say? I just poured my heart out to you and you have nothing to say. So for
Hmm.
me, it's not just if eye roll could set me off, it's if a moment of silence could set me off. That's
Right.
how I know I'm not actually ready. If I'm not okay for this other person to take their time to gather their thoughts and to come to something they feel ready to share and share it at their pace, it means I'm not ready. It means I'm not
Right.
actually ready.
Okay, so back this up here and help the people understand. So we talked about this going in. What does self-regulation mean, right? This is a popular term currently,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I see this, of course, on my beloved 90 Day Fiancé and Love is Blind and all those shows.
Yeah.
Temptation Island had a good dose of it. I just need to regulate for a minute, okay? Okay, I'm regulated. What? You know? This is not exactly what it means, but there's also an additional layer when we use this term, a
Mhm.
practical layer that we're talking about relationally. So can you kinda explain to people what we're talking about?
Right. So what how I understand regulation and how I go about it in my life is, am I able to be with whatever is going on in me right now in my body in terms of the sensations? Often when we're in that state, it's not very comfortable. Can I be with that? Can I be with whatever thoughts are swirling in my mind? And at the same time, can I have some type of tactile connection to my body? Do I know that I actually physically exist? Can I feel that I am here? So that's one part of it for me that I'm practicing. And then there's another layer of it, which is Do I have some curiosity and compassion towards myself right now? And do I have some curiosity and compassion towards the other person? Like, that's what I would look at as readiness, or like more the flavor of ready,
Would
right? But
never have
if
occurred to me. Never in life would that have occurred to me at the time.
no, didn't occur to me until a lot of in the aftermath with hindsight, sort of getting curious around like, what happened there again? I thought I had learned my tools. I thought I was using my tools. Like, how do we end up going on round three of this conversation in a way where we're talking in circles again and we're both feeling frustrated and unheard? Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't until many repetitions of that that I was like, okay, something's not adding up here.
Yeah.
There are pieces missing. And when I went to dissect it, that's what I saw was missing. So I was like, okay, let's just break it down. Let's break it down and let's practice each one of these things because each one of them is a skill. It's
Mhm.
a muscle to grow. And
Yeah.
without that combination, constructive conversation is going to be difficult.
Mhm. Yeah. So can you break those skills down for us?
Okay. So one thing is, can you notice something happening inside you right now? So you can just try it out. I notice actually I feel very hot. So that's the one thing inside me I notice, right? So we're just going to practice being with that one thing. That means, can you just take one breath, follow your exhale, and you're just noticing, oh, I feel hot right now. That's all. The other piece is, can you bring into your awareness some sort of tactile experience of your body? Like, I have a body. So right now I'm just squeezing my hands. Oh, I have a body here. And I feel some of that heat that I noticed earlier.
Mhm.
Right? So that's the being with what's inside the body,
Yeah.
being aware of the body. And then now I want to go to, am I aware of what my mind is doing? Right? A thought that I have right now is, right? What's a thought that's going on? For me, often in that moment, a thought that I have right now is like, how can he still not be understanding what I'm saying? That's often a thought that I have when I'm in those moments. It's good to recognize that I have that thought,
Mhm.
right? And then if I look at, well, can I have some compassion for myself? I'm feeling really frustrated. I thought we talked about this last time already. I thought he understood what I needed. I thought I was being clear. And this thing happened again. So no wonder I'm feeling frustrated. No wonder my feelings are hurt. Okay, that makes sense. Right? I'm really wanting to see change. What change would show me, or what I think the change would show me, is that I matter and that he cares.
Mhm.
That's the compassion for me. Right? And often, as I was building these muscles, I got good up until that point. And then the point that was still harder for me was, do I have care, curiosity, compassion towards the other person?
Right.
Now, I could connect to, hey, overall, I have care for this person. I love this person. But it's more nitty gritty than that. It's like, can I hold care for this person while they've done this thing that hurts my feelings? And can I hold some curiosity, right? Why might it have been that this person that I know loves me and did hear me the last time we spoke about it wasn't able to do the thing that I asked them to do? Right? Not from this, like, why the F couldn't he do it? But like, I'm wondering what got in the way for him.
Mhm.
I'm wondering how it might feel for him to see that he's let me down. Like, that
This
part was
is
hard for me,
I
like,
bet.
really hard.
Being able to even conceive of that, like, I'm putting my mind back into my old and in some cases not old, still current, very activated space. And I'm thinking about all the women on Temptation Island with their expectations of a guy that they've slept with or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And it's so far removed, the idea of getting compassionate about yourself and the other person, getting curious about what's happening for them. We use those words, "Oh, I'm just curious. What was happening for you? Why did you do that to me?" Which is
Mhm.
very different than, I wonder, how they actually think and feel in this moment without making it about us.
Yeah. Yeah. And you may be rolling your eyes listening to us right now thinking, who has time to like go through all these layers? Who has time to learn all these skills and practice all these skills before you have difficult conversations? The reality is you are spending time in these conversations, but it's sort of the time you're spending is giving you more of what you already know that's not working.
Oh, and it
So it
takes so much more time. Like, micro practices and awareness around this
Mhm.
take seconds and change
Yeah,
everything. We're spending all the time stewing and ruminating and
yeah,
imagining, making up stories about what's happening for the other person, bad ones
yeah.
that feel bad to us.
Yes, and don't bring us into closer connection. They certainly don't help someone else lower their defenses towards
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Now, okay, I wanna identify a piece here. So there's a couple things you said. What you described in a very somatic, practical, earthly way
Mhm,
is about self-remembering, and
mhm.
self-remembering gives you some space. It's a little bit of a buffer. Cosmic connection and meditation, these are all things that give you a bit of a mental buffer and an emotional buffer between your reactivity and the real situation that's in front of you. It builds in that pause. So I want to identify that for the metaphysical minded people. This is a
Mhm,
self-remembering buffer, right? But there's something in here about home, and I heard this quote from a bedding company. This was their slogan. It's, "Home isn't just where you live, it's how you feel." Which is so
mm,
sweet when you're thinking about bedding and can be pretty horrifying if you're thinking about activation in relationships, because the baseline that's normal for you might be rooted in, a loving family where they can talk things out and take each other into consideration. But more likely, it's some kind of activation that feels like home to you. It feels
yeah,
normal to you. Not listening to each other, assuming the other person doesn't care or has their own interests.
yeah,
These are
yeah,
things that might be built into your wiring. So it's going to
yes,
be really difficult for you to pause and remember yourself and take a breath and notice a sensation in your body and notice a thought in your mind and connect with your compassion for the other person, remembering that they love you,
right.
and getting curious about their experience. That might seem incredibly foreign.
Very much foreign, and you speak about something that's really important, the energetic and emotional experience of home. So home, most of us, "Oh, it feels like home," it's something we recognize, right? It's familiar, and like you said, not everything that's familiar to us actually is pleasant or safe or constructive or helpful. So, I guess an overarching thing here is getting clear for yourself and getting clear from your partner or whoever it is that matters to you, and then getting clear collectively, the two of you. What is the energetic and emotional home that you want to create together? How do you want to feel in dynamic with each other? And not just how do you want to feel when everything is peachy keen? How do you also want to feel when there's moments of hardship? How do you want to feel when there's some tension or misunderstanding or conflict? Yes, we feel like when I think about my emotional home growing up energetically, it felt very sad. It felt like my mother was sad, my father was angry, and it was loud and scary. So if I'm trying to recreate home in my relationship, but I have no awareness so that that's actually what my body feels like is home to me,
Mhm.
I'm just continuing to make choices and handle things in a way that creates more sadness, anger, loud and scary,
Yeah.
right?
That translates as well into the dreaming of what could be as well. And, like, this is something for me, I knew this intellectually, but it didn't translate fully until the last few years. Um, we're limited by those experiences, right? So when we say to you, "How do you wanna feel in your relationship, during conflict? How do you want to feel? Your ideas about what's possible there are going to be limited by your experience. So I just want to blow that wide open for you and say it means literally anything in the world. So one of the things we experience in our groups when we run people through this kind of exercise, inevitably the first thing they see is that they want to feel safe. And it's like, yeah, of course you want to feel safe, but we don't want that to be your dream. That's the bar is way too low. Safety should be a baseline, and we can, get around to doing the work that makes that true. But we want you to
Mhm.
dream bigger. Like the idea that conflict can actually feel connecting and energizing and lead good places is possible. So I would invite you, if you have someone in your life that you feel super comfortable with, where maybe you think, oh, it's impossible to have this kind of relationship with anyone but this one ideal person, use them as an example for how things
Mhm.
feel that feel good to you, and know that that can be true even in relationships that feel contentious for you today.
Yes, right? From that place, when you dream something a little bit more expansive for yourself, then you can test, hey, is this something in this moment that I can grow a little bit more in this interaction? Are we creating more of the energetic and emotional feel that I want to have in this relationship? And for me, tossing and turning and thumping my pillow around at 3 a.m. is not investing in creating the energetic feel I want myself or my partner to have in our relationship when we're having a hard moment. I would love us to have knowing, hey, something didn't feel good and it's okay to fall asleep now because tomorrow when we wake up, we'll both remember and remind each other that we love each other, and we will address that we might need to still find a way to talk about this thing that's hard. That's the energetic, emotional sort of experience I would like my partner and I to have.
Amazing. That is a very regulated thought to have at 3 in the morning.
Well,
So
I don't have that at 3 in the morning. I
oh,
gotta have that. I gotta have that way before 3 in the morning, so
yeah.
that at 3 in the morning, I recognize this is not that feel.
Yeah, for sure. So can you walk us through, for the people who are listening and have heard the term self-regulation and experienced it only while watching Temptation Island, what is the pop culture meaning of self-regulation? What do we think that people are feeling when they're describing that for themselves?
Well, I think a lot of people think it's one of 2 things, and probably more, but these are the 2 that pop up, is I feel like I've just gone to the spa and I feel so relaxed and I love all people. I love the birds and the trees and the blah, blah, blah.
Right.
That, maybe?
Yeah.
Or, I'm fine, we're fine, let's just talk about this thing, right? So it
Right.
has some of that, and then I think there's another, which is, I love you and I really want us to be able to talk about this and for you to feel good and for me to feel good.
Mm.
So that's the tricky one.
Yeah. So we're talking either La La Disney on cloud nine day or moment
Mhm, mhm.
versus I'm not actively yelling right now, but I'm primed for it if it's necessary, versus I can be in this hard moment and have my own back and stay connected to the other person at the same time.
Well, actually, I'm gonna say that 3rd one was a trick, and it makes you think it's this 4th one that we're talking about, readiness,
Ah,
right? Because I can sit here, imagine like you're my partner, I can say, "Hey, I love you so much. I know this is a hard topic for us, and I really want us to be able to talk through this." Have you ever heard someone say, "I really wanna understand you." And so I could say this to someone beautifully in that tone even and think it and believe it. But if they were now silent for a while or they said, "Well, then why didn't blah, blah, blah," they use a certain tone with me or
mm,
they eye roll or they, accuse me of something, then very quickly I'll just be right in my fight mode or my
Got it. Yeah.
shutdown mode.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the tricky thing is we can even think and feel that we want this goodness. But if I'm not ready to feel your frustration towards me and
Hmm.
hear what your shadow thoughts are about me and the situation, then I'm probably not actually ready.
Right. So that the way you're describing that then sounds like a separate thing or like a continuation of self-regulation, like an ongoing regulation, an active process rather than a state.
Yes, and it's a state that we might be in the moment that we start the conversation. Or in the moment that draws you to circle back to someone. I've had many times where I've sort of, like, in a short sort of way, left a situation and it's sort of implied that both of us think this is not a good time to continue this conversation. So we move along, do something different. I need to go to an appointment, and I'm in the car, and I just feel yucky about how that ended. And so I call and I say, "Oh, I don't really like how we handled that or how we ended that." And that part's genuine. And then I think I needed to learn I might need to leave it there. I might
Mm,
to like to leave it at, "I didn't love how we handled it. I still love you. Let's come back to this later," and just hang up. But, like, when I'm not on it, what will happen is I'll just get right back into it again
yeah,
under the guise of, "Oh, that didn't feel nice. I wanna extend and repair and acknowledge that moment didn't feel nice," but I wasn't actually ready for it to go anywhere beyond that at that point.
right.
So, in order to actually continue the conversation, we need to continue to bring the regulation, right? It's not just a moment of, well, while I'm walking to my partner or while I'm dialing their number, I feel like I have care for them and I'm curious about their point of view and I want to own my stuff. It's can I stay in that state
Yeah.
throughout? And can I recognize, because we're not perfect, can I recognize when I'm falling out of that state again and getting more activated into my protective pattern of fighting or withdrawing?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm frozen and call time and say, hey, I thought I was more ready than I am. Can we return to this later? Or can I take a moment? It's like an ongoing tracking. And I think that's maybe the difference. We think it's I've just arrived at the state. And because I arrived there, that I have some magical ability to just be that way.
Stay there. Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Right. So how would you recommend, like, I'm thinking for people with active anxious attachment
Mhm.
in an argument, how on God's green earth would any of this be achieved?
Ah. Well, I think a lot of it is work outside of those moments.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to invest in practicing outside of those moments because otherwise there's no way. We're too activated to practice to pull up any of these skills that we don't actually have.
Yeah.
So outside of those moments, I always say in hindsight, reflection is the best way to start changing your patterns, right? So look at a time when I thought I was ready to continue a challenging conversation, and reality showed me I wasn't.
Amazing. That's actually a great practice to walk us through. Is that something you could walk us through a hindsight noticing?
Yes, I can walk us through that. So let me take a drink.
Okay. And is there anything else? You'll have another opportunity to add any additional thoughts, but is there anything you want to say before we go into the practice?
I thought I did, but I think it's escaped me, so maybe it'll come back.
Okay.
So, in hindsight, let's go with this. Do you wanna go through this in real time? Is that what you're planning, or you just want me to tell you about it?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I always kinda run through whatever you're doing anyway.
Okay.
I'm happy to be a guinea pig.
So, when we're doing this in hindsight reflection, you're doing it solo or with someone who you trust and not the person who you're having a hard time with, right? Eventually, you work your way towards that, right? But while you're practicing, this is a solo practice or with someone other than the person who you trust and feel like you can be yourself and open with. Okay.
Yeah.
So Steph is doing it with me, but with all of you because she feels so comfortable with all of you. So bring up a time when you thought you were ready, but in hindsight, you see that you actually weren't.
Oh, the array of options. Let's see. Okie dokie.
Okay. So as you think about that time, either what do you notice you're in your body right now? Could be your sensations, your breath or posture. Or as you think about that time, like what do you imagine was happening with you body wise?
Oh, it's a prison. I've got to go and I can't.
Ah, okay. So
Mm.
you're speaking to the next thing. You said, I check in with what the impulse is there. Is there an impulse to move in a way? Right? If I were to give you the prompt, something I notice my body wants to do is
It's officiousness in every way. I want to take
right?
control.
I want to take control. Okay. And so what would that mean? Would that mean I'm going to get up and do something? You also mentioned I'm in a prison and I can't get away. Does that mean you want to get up and be able to move even though you don't feel that you could?
Yeah, so the circumstance was a conversation that was time sensitive and had to happen, so I couldn't pause it. Getting up and moving probably would have been helpful.
Yes. So this is how simplistic it is. When Steph says, I felt like I was in a prison, I couldn't go anywhere, that is a great clue. So we want to then honor what the body would want to do if it could,
Yeah.
right? Which might be, I want to get up and move, or get up and like run away from the situation. Then move the feet. Move the feet as if you're running. Move the
Mhm.
arms as if you're running. I know it sounds ridiculous, but what we're doing here is we're noticing that Steph has a survival response that's kicked in when she's thinking about this scenario. And the survival response says, get out,
Yeah.
move away. And when we don't let the body move in the way that it thinks it wants to in order to be okay in this situation, that energy gets trapped in the system.
Yeah.
And it will find its way to come out sideways in a way that is not helpful for your relationships.
Yeah. Mine's gonna come out straight forward like a steam train.
Yes.
I realized in describing this situation that these were actually people with whom I could have called for some movement together. Like, now I
Oh,
know enough that I could have said, "Hey, this is an uncomfortable conversation for all of us. Let's acknowledge that out loud and let's, like, move some energy, do some wiggling, do some screaming, whatever it is before we talk."
yes. Right? So that was one thing. The next thing would be, what would you have wanted to say to this person if there were no consequences? If nothing bad could happen, you're not hurting anyone's feelings, you could just say whatever you wanted. If you were free to have an adult tantrum, right? So I will give you this prompt. If I wasn't afraid to say what's really on my mind, I would say blank.
"I hate this. Fuck you. Give me everything I want. Shut up."
Okay. Yes. And notice again whether you would want to say that with any emphatic movements or anything. Try
Mm.
it out. See.
Ooh, no, it's a thunk. It's a concrete feeling.
Okay. Yeah. So practice maybe saying it again. See how it feels. If I could say anything without consequence of harming anyone or myself or the relationship, I would say,
Fuck you. Shut up,
yeah,
shut up, shut up, shut up. I hate
yes.
this.
And feel your butt on the seat. Yeah. See, so what Steph's doing is she's following the impulse to move and make a funny face and stick her tongue out and shake things a little bit.
Ugh.
Right? Yeah. This is actually where I wouldn't say that this is the main one, but this is one of the components that we usually gloss over because of I have love and care for this person. I'm a kind-hearted person, right? I'm reasonable. I don't want to act like a lunatic. Don't want to sound ridiculous or rude or mean. And so we don't give voice to the things we would love to be able to say. And that energy gets stuck inside. And again, it'll find a sideways way. Like, it's not like just because we didn't say these horrible things that we don't think them and feel them. And we're going to end up saying some version of that at some point to the person, or we're going to turn it towards ourselves and be like, see,
Mm,
you did it again. You didn't speak up for yourself. You didn't say that thing. They're, taking advantage of you, and you never stick up for yourself, and blah, blah, blah. It'll go inward towards ourselves.
yeah.
So we want to practice using that prompt. Set the timer for 5 minutes. Use that repeatedly. If I wasn't afraid and if there were no consequences, I would say this.
Yeah.
I would, and just blast them off. Feel them in your body, blast them off.
Yeah. That's a brilliant practice for going into a hard conversation, to move that energy by yourself, because that energy's there whether you express it or not. It's either hanging around in your body, lingering in the air, filling up the space between you and the other person. And you
Yeah.
don't need to say it to them to move it. That's your energy that you get to move. And just following those prompts G just gave you and saying those out loud or writing them out before a difficult conversation will go a long way.
Right. And you might notice as I say them, I sort of flip back to that earlier prompt of I notice I have an impulse. I notice I have an impulse to like just slam the books on the floor or like throw something against the wall. Find some way to move that fight energy that's not harmful to you or the people around you or the things around you.
Yeah.
Right. So you might oscillate back and forth between there's movements my body wants to make, there's things that I wish I could say if I were given permission to have an adult tantrum. We want
Mhm.
to allow for that in a contained way, meaning set a timer, meaning during and after, can you bring some connection to your body? During and after, can you look around and recognize, oh, like I'm in my bedroom right now or in my house? Like I'm actually safe. Things are okay here. Right. So
Yeah.
your body knows, oh, that was just a moving of energy. I'm not actually in confrontation with anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And to sink back into that after you have been in confrontation with somebody,
Hmm.
and to revisit it, like running through, I mean, this conversation that we just ran through happened like a year and a half ago. I can
Hmm.
still summon that energy to mind in an instant, and I can still work with it as a result. So you guys can absolutely go through these with things that are, arguments you've had with people who are no longer even in your life, and we
Yes.
can still process and grow
Yes.
from
And
that.
the thing is, you say, oh, this from a year and a half ago. And maybe it's not fully as intense. It's somewhat there if you conjure it up. But what's magical about the body, and sometimes very annoying, is that the body remembers very vividly that this happened. And if you encounter anything in present day that's remotely similar, that stirs up some of those same feelings and thoughts, it's going to react from that place with the charge that's been suppressed all that time.
Yeah. No matter how much therapy you do or how much you think about it, you literally cannot think that stuff out of your body. You must do something with your body to move that energy. So this is where I'm going to mention first. So the key takeaways from this
Yeah.
episode so far. Self-regulation in the way it's used colloquially is not the same thing as being ready for a difficult conversation, nor is it the same thing as having processed a difficult conversation from the past and being able to, talk about it with a calm voice right now. So, signs of readiness include being able to be curious and compassionate towards yourself and the other person, being able to stay logged into that during the conversation or pause if needed. So, a big element of self remembering here. And then
Mhm.
also moving that energy. And what I heard from you, and what I also know very well, is that you have to practice these things outside of these activated moments so that your body can access them when you need them. So there's no shame in not being ready, and you can't rush being ready, but you can and you should practice. And it helps to practice when you're not triggered or activated. That's how you build the
Mhm.
muscles that we've been talking about. And that's entirely what we do in our twice a month somatic integration sessions, which we do live. And we do these with activation twice a year. So, activation and triggers, we practice these and practice using the tools during those moments in conscious relationship training. So, that's twice a year. The doors open soon for that for the fall cohort.
Mhm.
And this skill that we're describing is not just about conflict, right? This is learning to sit with discomfort, which applies in every area of your life, really. And it amounts to slowing down, slowing things down. And that is what our very first season is going to be about. Yes, we're 161 episodes in, but we're about to launch our first season. So, starting July 8th, we're trying on this seasonal approach here at Wholehearted Loving, which is going to be a deep dive. Each season will be a deep dive into particulars of one broader subject. So, the first one's going to be slow dating or deep dating, which is this beautiful trend we're seeing of getting off the apps and into the real world, actually getting to know the person in front of us, one person at a time, if you can imagine that. And even though this season is going to be called Slow Dating, we're covering topics that apply to way more than just that. So it's things like knowing what you like and what you want, feeling into what's true and owning what's best for you, being able to express all of those things. So even though the season's about dating, every episode will have a conversation that you can apply in every area of your life. And as always, there will be practices that we walk you through as well to help with that.
So I needed that season 2 decades ago.
Me too. Me too.
And probably 15 years ago too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
10
that would have
years
been
ago.
nice to have around when did we start dating? Pubescent times. This is good info to have. Slowing down
Mhm.
generally is good info to have.
And knowing ourselves,
Yeah.
right? And like all that piece that I just walked us through is about knowing yourself and honoring yourself and not making yourself wrong, right? It was like noticing, hey, what sensation is present? What impulse is present? What thoughts are present, right? And there's actually two more pieces. Do you want me to share those two?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So, something else to reflect on is how am I feeling and what am I needing right now? Right. So, a prompt to use is one thing that I am feeling right now is one thing that I need from myself right now is.
Wait a minute.
You're going to laugh.
I
Yep.
have to call you because when you said, "How am I feeling and what do I need?" What sprang to mind was, "I'm fine. I don't need anything. Thank you."
So, that's great self knowing,
Yes.
right? If you have a pattern that says, I'm great, I'm fine, I don't need anything, this is our invitation to you to be curious about that.
Yeah.
How is that serving you and impacting your relationships?
Well, the people who think that don't know is what the fucking problem is, right? So I'm saying this and laughing about it because I know so many of you think that, and it is not the truth. Underneath, it's not the truth. This is a defensive pattern that you've developed for very good reasons. And if you wish to know yourself more and have deeper relationships and boundaries that actually feel good and fluid and held and true, you have to be able to answer these questions. And the answers are very simple. They're immediately available to you in your body. You just have to practice getting them. And they don't need to be some big thing. There doesn't need to be a whole bunch of needs attached and neediness and things that we use as, swear words and personal growth circles. You're allowed to have needs and interests and wants and desires. And that's really what spices up your entire life and all of your relationships. So, for God's sake, don't be afraid of that. And, come practice learning what those are for yourself.
Right. And the funny thing here, and like bless us all, is when life is not feeling as easeful and as ideal as we would like it to feel, which I'm sure most of us know what that feeling feels like, it automatically means that at least one of our needs is not being met. It's like that simplistic. You can't actually ever get away from the fact that you have needs.
Yeah.
So get curious. What is one thing I need from myself right now? And then here's some nuance. Because sometimes we don't feel that we are in the position to give ourselves what we need. And that doesn't make you wrong or bad or whatever. It just means, hey, I'm overwhelmed. This is too much. I don't know how to give myself anything that I need right now. So then the other question would be, what is one thing I need from someone else right now? And here's the caveat, who actually has the willingness and capacity and desire to give it to me.
That might be another foreign concept for people.
It's an important nuance because imagine if, okay, I lived this life, so I don't have to imagine too hard. Imagine if I tell myself, I have no needs, I'm fine. And, but actually, I need you to XYZ because it actually always went together. It was never, I have no needs and I'm fine. And I also need nothing from you. It's, I have no needs and I'm fine, but I need you to show up and behave this way now, immediately. And if you can't, then you're wrong and we're screwed.
Yeah.
And that's not a very nice existence for myself or them or for our connection. So I really, really had to not just learn, but face the reality that what I want from somebody else may not be something they have a willingness, a desire, or a capacity to give to me in this moment.
Yeah.
And I learned because I was willing to see what else is possible. There must be someone out there who's trustable, who could give me some of that. Right. And if we're not open to the idea that that could be a possibility, w- we're entirely screwed. Because what that is saying is I'm not in a position to give myself what I need, which sometimes we're not, but I have pinned the responsibility to give me what I need all to this one person.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I'm going to feel okay.
And
Okay
by the
in
way, I
general
don't have any needs also all at the same
and
time.
okay, right, about myself.
Mhm.
It's just a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
And it's
That can be
well-intentioned because it's self-protective, but it doesn't give you what you want in your life.
yeah, yeah. If you feel like you don't need anything, but you definitely want other people to be doing things in certain ways, that's a great place from which to extract the needs that are present.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? So, the final thing that, I like to call it a game because if it's not called a game to me, then sometimes it's harder to get myself into the mindset of this, which is I need to play some detective here. Imagine you're a little detective and you could sort of take some guesses. What do I imagine this other person is feeling and needing right now? This is not saying I'm going to give it to them. And it's not saying I understand why they feel this way or need this thing. It's not saying if I were them, I would need this thing or feel this way. It's just if I'm just playing imagination and detective.
Amazingly helpful. That's an assignment I would have needed. So I would not have been able to access any of this compassionate crap you're describing while I was in the heat of it with somebody. But if I had been assigned the task of being a detective, I could grumpily and while being shut down and having no idea of what my needs are, I could
Mhm.
say, okay, well, it's fucking detective time. Okay. And then I'll get curious and I'll have to because that's my job of the moment. And that will actually lead me to compassionate places.
Yes. This actually, I feel like works miracles with people because a lot of people are very disconnected from what it is that they feel or need or someone else feels or needs, or we're so pissed off and hurt that we don't want to have any curiosity or compassion for another person. But make it a game and give someone a task and a role, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, fine. If I were a detective, this is what I imagine this person might be feeling. And it shocks me, and it shouldn't anymore. It shocks me every time how quickly people can come up with something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Huh, you think they might be scared, huh? Hmm, how's that feel to come to presence with?" And they're like, "Oh, oh. Oh, you think that maybe they would be feeling bad that they let you down, huh? Hmm, So does it make a little bit more sense now why they handled it that way? And sometimes even that realization is with some like disgruntledness, but that's okay. But you're starting to see light bulbs turn on and something shifting, and that's what it's about. If I'm not willing to have a light bulb turn on and something shift, then let's just own that and own that right now I just want to be right and you're wrong. It's fine, just own it. I'm not ready to consider that you might be right and I might be wrong. I'm not ready to consider that there might be another way to look at this, right? And I love you. Can we pick this up another time?
Yeah.
Right? And then actually do this practice, do this work that allows you to pick this up another time
Yeah.
from a place of willingness and openness.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the thing I was going to say. So, if you tend to need to take a break, if you see, because this episode could be really used to create even more distance, which is, oh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to have a conversation.
Right.
I'm not ready yet. Right. And so we're saying honor when you're not ready. Start noticing the signs that let you know when you're not ready. Honor it without making yourself wrong. And also create time, make it sacred that there is time to get to know what's going on with you, to get ready for these conversations, and then show up for them.
Yeah. Man,
Right?
that detective work before a difficult conversation would also be really helpful to get me into a compassionate space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that, Gigi.
Yes, there's a different way to play this game, which is I'll just mention it very quickly. We used to do this in my work where we work with families and you see some atrocious things happening sometimes. And it's really hard, it's really easy to already have in mind who you're pissed off at in a family and who you think is responsible and has to change. And so what we would do as practitioners is we would get these name tags that say, "Hello, my name is whatever." And you would write the name of the person that pisses you off in that dynamic the most. And for 10 minutes, you would pretend to be that person.
Oh, yeah.
And you would speak the concerns and the worries of that person. And you would speak the experience of that person. And like everything would begin to shift. Like
Yeah.
perspectives would start changing, right? So this is a game of like either play pretend and be the detective or play pretend and be the person.
That's a huge impact. I remember that in conscious relationship training. We haven't done that in a while, but you mill around the room in the role of whoever it is. Usually we do mother father kind of work there. Revelatory stuff for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Thank you, Gigi. Anything else needs to be said?
I think really just to stress that working with this stuff in hindsight is where the magic lies. Do not expect yourself to do anything about this in real time if you haven't done a significant amount of reflection and practice and being with the body sensation of these things we talked about in hindsight.
Yeah.
Right. And this is what's great is we all have so much hindsight material to
We
choose
do.
from.
A lifetime's worth. It's true. So all of that hindsight work, our podcast episodes cover all of this stuff. We've got free stuff on our website. We've got cheap stuff on our website. We've got live stuff that you can do with us that's easy and gentle or difficult and challenging. These are the places to practice where it's not the high stakes of your relationships. This is what do you call this, G? It's like the World Series versus training, whatever,
Yeah,
baseball
right?
training.
Yes, you don't wanna say, well, right now tennis is on, right? Like, Roland Garros or whatever is on, right? Wimbledon will be at some point, the US Open. Like, you don't wait. Tennis players don't wait until the big game to practice their serve. Why
Indeed.
are we waiting until the moment of having a really important conversation to try to remember to be curious about ourselves and the other person, to try to remember how to settle my system or move my fight energy. No, 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 no. It's not gonna work. It's gonna blow
Not
up in
gonna
your
work.
face,
Yeah, can
right?
confirm. Yeah,
Do
it's
it at
true.
tennis practice.
Yeah,
Every Tuesday and Wednesday, 5:30 PM, you show up at tennis practice. That's the time.
that's the time. Nice. Well, I hope we'll see you guys at some of our practice spaces. They really are life-changing stuff, and I think that's it for this episode, so we will see you next time. Thank you for being with us, and as always, please do like, follow, and subscribe, and if anything we've said here today has been helpful for you, please share with somebody that you care about, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.